Marang Yaria, Yuandu Yanada Hais, Baladu Aradri Gearlung, Arambajibu Brunglibu Megandi Bala Williams. Good evening, everybody. My name's Anita Heiss, and I have Wiradjuri belonging from Arambi and Brungle missions in central New South Wales, and I'm a Williams. And I pay my respects and acknowledge the traditional owners and their custodianship on the lands on which we meet this evening. And I pay my respects to their ancestors and their descendants. On behalf of the University of Queensland, I pay our respects to ancestors and descendants who continue cultural and spiritual connection to country here in Meanjin. We recognise their valuable contributions to Australian and global society. I'm really thrilled to be your MC this evening, and I'd like to begin by welcoming you all here and make special mention of the following: members of the University Senate and University Senior Management Group, Professor Aidan Byrne, the University of Queensland Provost, Professor Bronwyn Fredericks, Pro-Vice-Chancellor, Indigenous Engagement, Professor Tracy Bunda, Director of the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Studies Unit, representatives from government and industry, our elders and community members, our friends and donors, graduands and their guests, University of Queensland colleagues, and distinguished guests. It is my very great pleasure right now to introduce to you all Professor Aidan Byrne, the University of Queensland Provost, who will provide the opening address.
Thanks, Anita. And I too acknowledge the traditional owners and the custodianship of the lands on which we meet today, and pay my respects to their ancestors and descendants. Anita's done the acknowledgements, but I too want to acknowledge the University Senate members and my colleagues here today. And Bronwyn and Tracy, a delight to have you here. It really is a celebration event, and I do too have to begin by giving Peter Hoy's apology. He was slated to do this this evening, but is otherwise indisposed at the moment, so I have to fill in. So that's my lucky day, because it's such a pleasure to be here. Because this has become one of the highlights of the year for the University of Queensland. As we present these sashes to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students who will graduate soon, I can reflect on their serious dedication to their study, the commitment to success, and the exciting futures that lie ahead of them. This sashing ceremony was reintroduced last year at the instigation of the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students who wanted to acknowledge the great achievement of their peers. It's a joyful ceremony for all involved: the students, their proud families and friends, UQ staff, as well as the external partners from industry, government and community. And I'd also like to make special mention of our philanthropic supporters here today and thank them for their ongoing support. And beyond the ceremony, there are wonderful stories of how these students plan to fulfil the UQ vision of knowledge leadership for a better world. For example, we have Matthew Jones doing his Masters of Business Administration Studies. Matthew mentored other Indigenous students, was shortlisted to be a valedictorian, and recently accepted a role with Norgard, the largest Indigenous industrial and safety wholesaler in Australia. There's also the story of Hannah Tilling, a proud Mununjali woman who, on completing medicine, hopes to become a dermatologist and do outreach work. Hannah has also encouraged Indigenous school children through the Inspire You program to consider studying medicine when they finish high school. Or James Blackwell, who is graduating with a Master of International Relations. James travelled to the US to do fieldwork and research for his Masters, uncovering material that has never before been used. James sometimes fills in for UQ's Associate Professor Andrew Phillips on ABC Radio Brisbane to discuss his favourite topic, US politics. What will we see in that, I wonder? So I'm looking forward to hearing more from our graduates following the ceremony about your dreams and your plans for the future. Today also marks the first anniversary of launching UQ's inaugural Reconciliation Action Plan, which we call the RAP. While UQ has been working towards reconciliation for some years, celebrating and supporting Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students and cultures, it was important for us to go further, to build a university-wide approach through our RAP. The plan outlines the commitments and practical actions that we're taking to build and enhance current and emerging relationships within the university and externally with communities, organisations and industry partners. We want to ensure it becomes second nature for all of our staff and students to consider the RAP in all that they do, from increasing the progression and success of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students at UQ, to employment opportunities, choosing Indigenous Australian businesses for goods and services, or when planning an event. We need to ask ourselves, have we considered Indigenous engagement? How can we include Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander knowledge and perspectives? And the launch of the RAP has already begun to yield results within the university. There are now more clarity on matters of culture and protocol. There is greater Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander representation on university committees. And RAP reporting has increasingly become embedded into our internal workings. To return to our graduates, we are inspired to see you preparing for your life ahead. You should feel incredibly proud of yourselves as you join the growing Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who have graduated from UQ, beginning in 1966 with our first Aboriginal graduate, Margaret Valadian. Thank you. Based on provisional 2019 figures, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander undergraduate and postgraduate enrolments at UQ have increased over 20% since 2015. Your graduations mean you are empowered with the means to create a better world. You are also members of a unique alumni within UQ's broader alumni. You will join more than 275,000 UQ graduates, including more than 14,000 PhDs who are out in the world making a difference. And we encourage you to stay in touch within your university and as alumni. By doing so, you will continue to learn and to grow in immeasurable ways. But for now, be proud of yourselves and your achievements. Enjoy this very special period as graduates. The university community and your friends and families look forward to congratulating you once again when you step onto the stage for your graduation ceremony. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Byrne, for your reflections on the purpose of this evening, but also the ongoing presence and role of Indigenous people at the university generally. It's my great pleasure now to introduce to you all Professor Bronwyn Fredericks, the University of Queensland's Pro-Vice Chancellor of Indigenous Engagement. Thank you.
There goes the mic. I just lost the mic, Joel, so you're going to have to keep this one. In commencing, I acknowledge the traditional lands on which I'm speaking tonight, but also on which you're sitting, and the Indigenous peoples who did not relinquish sovereignty from this place, and I make mention of that, and their custodianship and ongoing custodianship of these lands, on which we're gathering, which this ceremony is being held, but in terms of for the students, on which you've studied, cried, challenged yourselves, challenged each other, challenged us at times as well, and also laughed, ran, slept, did all kinds of other things that I won't mention. But that this place has become special to you, as it has for Aboriginal people from millennia, and I acknowledge that. And I pay respects to the elders of the past and their descendants, and we do acknowledge that we do have Yagara and Turrbal people as well in our student body, and we acknowledge them. Anita has already acknowledged some of the important guests. I will talk to some of those as I go through my presentation, my talk tonight. But I did want to mention that we also have other universities in attendance, and we have people here tonight from QUT, people here from Griffith University, people here from UTS and other universities. So I do want to mention those in particular for your support of us. And it's really great that we're starting to see that collegiality across universities too in important things and recognition of our students as they move through in these important milestones. So thank you all for coming. Thank you, Professor Heiss, for the introduction, and thank you, Provost Aidan Byrne, for your words, which I'm sure resonated for many of the students here, if not just tonight, but ongoing as they reflect going forward. I know when I was taking some photos, and people know that that's what I do, I love photos, that the light was actually distracting from some of the photos, and it's a little bit in my eye as I'm here, but I'm also reminded of Maiwa, and that this is a significant feature of our community in terms of the river and Meanjin, which some of us know in terms of the Brisbane Valley and the Brisbane River. So I just wanted to make mention that you think about this tonight, particularly for the students in going forward, that this is where we had this ceremony. Next to Maiwa, on the banks of Maiwa, with Maiwa within Meanjin, and I hope that carries you also through your life, along with this ceremony and your graduation this week and your time at UQ. It really gives me exceptional pleasure tonight to welcome our graduates and their families, their family members, their friends, their grandparents, all the people that have come to support you tonight in the Sashing ceremony. For many of the students, they will also be attending their official university graduation over the coming weeks, and they start next week for the next 2 weeks, and you'll be wearing your Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander sashes to that graduation. And we hope that as we see you come across the stage, and there'll be many from this audience certainly who are sitting on either on the stage or in the audience, that we see those sashes coming across and we can cheer and clap you. I also welcome the colleagues that I have here tonight from the Indigenous Engagement Division. These events are a realisation of our collective efforts and the result of, in sometimes, real dedication and a lot of after-hours work to make this happen. We know that students last year said to us, and spoke to me when I said, what do you want me to do in my role as PVC coming into the uni? One of the things that was said by a number of students was a sashing ceremony. And so this is our second year of making this happen, and it couldn't happen without the dedication of staff to make that happen for you, to make it as special as it is, and without you coming to make it special for yourselves and for us to cheer you on. For some of our graduates here tonight, we first met you, and the engagement staff and the outreach staff from the university first met you when you were in school. And so that relationship has continued to now, when you are going to walk across the stage tonight to get your sash. You've also worked with the learning and support teams through your studies, and you've come to rely on or have as confidence and have a trust in the staff within the unit, both in terms of the academic staff, the support staff, the admin staff, and all of us there who've got to know some of you really well and others less well over your time. It's been a really big year. We've also welcomed Professor Tracy Bunder onto staff. Many of you've got to know her very quickly, and she's made herself known and she currently is the Director of the Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander Studies Unit. We're thankful to have Tracy. We also welcomed Professor Anita Heiss, who's our MC tonight. We know that she's a renowned author and that she's an academic, but we didn't know how funny she is and how wonderful she is to have around, not just for staff but for students as well. And so we've had all of that. I want to make mention especially too of Jason, Kath, Kelly, Tariki and Don, and others who've worked on pulling this together tonight to make it special and gone beyond the cause. I also want to thank those people that are coming through in terms of the rest of the university who've helped us in support of this event, but all of our events. It's been a really full year in terms of implementation of the Reconciliation Action Plan since that launch, Aidan, in terms of where we've come. And for some of you here, the staff and colleagues and community may know that we've pushed some people beyond, in some ways, what they've been comfortable in. But, you know, in the end of the day, people are up for the challenge. And I have to believe, too, that people are still on for the challenge going forward. So that's fantastic. And students, you can expect to see more from us when you go forward as graduates. You know, to see more coming through and more graduates too from the university. We do have a video which will be played of some of the highlights of the year. It's just a glimpse of some of the highlights for the year, and I'll flick to the video now.
One thing I definitely took away from today was how intertwined the ATSIS unit is with the Faculty of Medicine now. They had a lot of the faculty members come over and talk to us, and it seemed like the staff here had a really good relationship with them. So I feel like I'm going to be really well supported, not just by the ATSIS unit, but also by the Faculty of Medicine as well.
I think there's a number of things when it comes to what we've just seen and witnessed in regards to raising the Torres Strait Islander flag. One, there's an acknowledgement of Torres Strait Islanders in this space here at UQ.
So we had a lot of cultural experiences, and we also did practical experiences in the engineering faculty at Tianjin University.
So the third and final award in this category is one that I know is close to the Vice-Chancellor's heart, and it goes to the contributors to the Reconciliation Action Plan.
Being an academic, writing is always going to be integral to my job. So, of course, learning better writing skills and how to articulate what I'm trying to say will come in handy in pretty much any way that I go after my PhD.
Best thing about this workshop is hearing from other universities about what they're doing and how they're embedding Indigenous perspectives and how they're driving the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander agenda in their universities.
I also want to talk about this new Facebook page that is the UQ Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander Alumni Network Facebook page. Please get on if you haven't already, like it, and also join the group through the Facebook page.
Everyone will hopefully acknowledge the stories and what we created and appreciate what we've done as well.
I started here in 2012 after having a stint with cancer in 2011, and that's when I decided to change my life and have a go at higher education. And it wasn't until I had the support of the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander unit at UQ that I thought I could continue.
And I find every single time I'm able to stand still long enough and realise that I can draw on the energy of this land.
At the end of our camps, our students walk away feeling confident they can go to university and succeed. They also walk away having lifelong connections and friends.
We're all here! Hey, hey, we're all here! Inspire who? Inspire you! Inspire who? Inspire you!
You all know that fella, hey? As you can see, we've had an absolutely really busy year, and sometimes we've had to sit and wonder, full of breath, because we've all had that big year, and students, you've all been part of that. And we couldn't have done that alone. The university and all of us have pulled together, and we've all played a critical role in terms of making that happen. Just turning to the students. We have more students graduating from the uni than we've had in quite some time, any time. We are to the point now we're currently ranked 8th in the country in this regard, and 7th in the country in terms of student success. And that's something that UQ collectively needs to be proud of. We need to retain that benchmark and just keep going forward. That doesn't mean other people lose out. They need to keep going forward too, because in the end, all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people win. To our university and broader community partners, we also say a very sincere thank you, because we couldn't do this without you. I want to now turn to the students. I want to thank you, not just from me personally, but from all of us and your communities, for dreaming big, for striving to be the best you can be. And we'll hear when the results of some people are read out later that people have hit, GPAs that I would not have imagined anybody to get. It's not that we can't get that, but anybody. Thank you for the many hours and hard work in your discipline. And tonight is testament of your dedication and commitment to that. I want to thank you for being resilient and strong, and also trusting yourselves in terms of the obstacles that we know some of you have overcome, but also trusting yourself and reaching out and asking for help when you needed that too, because that's also important in terms of development and in terms of growth. We can't do things on our own, and we certainly can't study at university on our own, even though sometimes we think we can. And finally, thank you for being so inspirational to those that will follow your footsteps. We all make tracks in the world, and as Aboriginal people we know that we follow currently the tracks of other people. We couldn't do what we're doing now without those people who have walked the ground before us, and you are now walking the ground for others to follow you. The current students tonight, I hope you feel strengthened by what you're part of this evening and what you'll see in front of you as these students get their sashes, and be further propelled to continue with your studies and achieve and go on your other journeys after university. For graduates tonight, this might be the closing chapter of this current UQ relationship, but I also hope that it opens the doors for others. We know that some of you will be back as postgraduate coursework students, and we'll be here walking that journey with you. We also know that UQ is a leader in terms of research, and currently have one of the larger communities of Indigenous higher research degree students in the country. We currently offer a scholarship to any Indigenous student who's wanting to do higher degree research with us at UQ. So keep that in mind if that's something that interests you. As an alumnus of the university, you will now join over the 1,000 Aboriginal and Torres Strait graduates of this university who don't just work in communities and regions and cities like Meanjin, who work across Australia and indeed across the world, and we're aware of those. Graham Ackhurst, who you saw in that video, is currently in New York for 2 years. So dream big, keep dreaming and thinking big. It was mentioned on the video about the launch of the Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander network, the alumni. Please go on your phones, and I can see Heather Swicker looking at her phone now. She's checking out what you're all doing, and there's probably other people in the audience playing with their phones, and they're looking at it now as well. So get on, join the network if you're not already, particularly those people who are the graduates. Before I finish up, I also want to make mention of the donors, and I know Aidan has, but we are really grateful for those donors for their support, for students, particularly these students tonight that have benefited from scholarships from generous donations, and we're still trying to canvass that further support from others in the future to make it more possible for other students. All the photos taken this evening by the photographer that's around, AJ, will be available then on the alumni Facebook page, so please check out that and join it, but look at all the really deadly photos of the deadly people walking around tonight. Have a fantastic evening. You're in for a really treat, and make sure you cheer really loud when the graduates come across the stage. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Fredericks, for bringing inspiration to the room today, this evening I should say, but every day at the University of Queensland. You inspire your team, you bring leadership and an extraordinary level of support, and I have to say, I don't know about anybody else in the room, but watching that video, my heart exploded just a little bit with pride and the belief of what we can all do as a community together at University of Queensland. And your mention of me being funny, I took that as an invitation to say, 3 Murrays walk in a pub. No. Edit that out. No. If anybody is taking photos, my left side's best, and please use every filter possible. Thank you very much. So we're getting to that very exciting time of this evening. I'd like to now invite Professor Byrne back on the stage to support presenting UQ's 2019 Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander graduates with a graduation sash and gift, which we didn't have when I did my PhD back in the dream time. I want people to know there's some numbers that are really significant though, because it's 2019, we have over 75 Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students who have completed either an undergraduate or a postgraduate by coursework or research higher degree program. In total, we have over 20 students from the July graduation ceremony and over 60 students from the December graduation ceremony, and 31 of those students from July and December are with us this evening. The SASH presentation allows students to wear their colours and be proud when they at their graduation ceremony, between the ones coming up between Friday the 6th and Saturday the 14th of December. And the ceremonies will be held at UQ's St Lucia and Gatton campuses. Now in the box, in this secret box, I'm going to let the secret out, is a number of items, including a fantastic customised bowl made by Chaboo. The artwork on the bowl is titled Community Links and represents all communities linking and sharing knowledge amongst one another. The circles represent the communities, with the linking lines being the communications, and the dots represent our people coming together. And the gift is really about introducing our graduates to the UQ alumni. Also in the gift bag or box is an alumni pin, network pin, a bookmark that you can put maybe in a book of mine that you read. And we should have put one of my books in the box, and a sticker. Now, to get the formal sashing ceremony underway with the 2019 graduates from the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences, Mr. James Blackwell, Master of International Relations. James. James is a member of the Wiradjuri Nation and his thesis area is US post-Vietnam civil military relations policy development. He travelled to the US, funded by UQ, to undertake fieldwork and conduct archival research for his master's thesis. He now plans to undertake his PhD in the School of Political Science and International Studies at the University of Queensland. It says sometime in the next 12 months, so we'll be humbugging you about that, James, and will continue to work as a research and teaching assistant within the School of Political Science and International Studies. And now we have the 2019 graduates from the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences. Luna Celeste, Bachelor of Education and Bachelor of Arts. Luna is connected to the Yuwalari country and grew up on Chapagai land. She aspires to becoming a secondary teacher, specifically working in Indigenous communities. Miss Shanice Enoch, Bachelor of Arts and Education, Secondary. So, majoring in Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Studies and English, Shanice is connected to Minikudi, Kantju and Quandamuka Nations. Shanice was the recipient of the Pearl Duncan Teaching Scholarship and achieved 3 consecutive Dean's Commendations for academic excellence throughout her program. She aspires to entering the teaching workforce and work with teachers and principals to increase and improve the embedding of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander perspectives, knowledges, histories and cultures in all curriculum areas and schooling environments. Miss Jenna Louise Islanders, Bachelor of Arts, major in Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Studies and minoring in Criminology, Journalism and Mass Communication. Jenna is connected to Mackay Torres Strait Islander community and her paternal grandparents are from Thursday Island. She would now like to work in an organisation dealing with Indigenous health, particularly with regards to diabetes and cardiovascular disease, as these are diseases which have personally affected her family. Mr. Donald Johannesson, Graduate Certificate in Writing, Editing and Publishing. Donald is connected to the Garang people and this year he was elected a board member of Brisbane Indigenous Media Association for AAA Murray Radio. He started his career 19 years ago working under the founder and CEO, Uncle Tiger Bales. Oh, and I've known Donald for a long time. Obviously he's got a background in media and journalism and he also did our video this evening. So thank you, Donald, for that. And he's actually seeking to continue further studies and discussing options. It sounds like you've got an agent doing that. Is that right? Miss Lucinda McConkey, Bachelor of Education, Primary. Lucinda is connected to the Gungandji people. She received the Dean's Commendation for Academic Excellence 4 times throughout her degree, and she's a proud recipient of the Pearl Duncan Scholarship. And she's excited to engage with Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students in the classroom next year to support them in meeting their full potential academically and socially and supporting embedding Indigenous knowledges in the classroom. Miss Tashura McConkey, Bachelor of Education, Primary. Tashura is also connected to the Gungandji peoples, and yes, she is Lucinda's twin sister. So we have a very overachieving, high-achieving family. Over the course of her degree, Tashira received the Dean's Scholar Award as well as the Dean's Commendations for Academic Excellence on 4 occasions. She is also the proud recipient of the Pearl Duncan Teaching Scholarship. She looks forward to teaching and inspiring Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students to pursue their passions and know that they can achieve anything that they set their mind to. She also aims to develop Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander culture in her pedagogical practices while sharing her own cultural identity with her students. Miss Jess Rodahan, Bachelor of Psychological Science with honours. Jess is a proud Jadwajali Aboriginal woman from the Garraward region of Victoria. Jess won the Runners-Up and People's Choice Award for the 2019 Marta Research 3-minute thesis competition. And first place in the Marta Research End of Year Honours Presentation competition. She completed a UQ Poach Centre Winter Research Scholarship with a focus on researching Indigenous birthing in an urban setting, and she hopes to publish her thesis next year as she has secured a position in researching urban Indigenous child-rearing practices with Kumara. And I'm going off script here, Jess, but we do have the chair of the board of the University of Queensland Press in the room if you're looking to publish next year. Miss Rani Tezaram, Bachelor of Arts with a double major, English and Professional Writing and Communications. Rani's one of my mob. She's from the Wiradjuri Nation of Central New South Wales, and her focus moving forward will be on her writing and music making, having worked as a music and games journalist throughout the year. She also plans on continuing her work in the local creative community. And now to introduce the 2019 graduands from the Faculty of Business, Economics and Law. Mr. Patrick Roy Brosnan, Bachelor of Commerce with a major in Finance. Patrick is connected to the Quandamooka Nation. He will soon begin work at the Australian Treasury in Canberra in the graduate program there, developing skills in accounting and finance, and then begin work on a chartered account program while progressing his career. Mr. Charles Hornery, Bachelor of Economics and Bachelor of Commerce with majors in International Trade and Finance. Charles is connected to the Gungari peoples of Mitchell and southwestern Queensland. While at UQ, Charles won a gold medal in volleyball at the Australian Indigenous University Games and has also represented the university in various university games for basketball. He plans to... I just noted... He plans to advance his career in the investments industry and work towards completion of an MBA while building a very prosperous career in the banking world. Mr. Matt Jones, Master of Business Administration. Matt is connected to Darnley Island through the Guevara family line. He was an Indigenous scholarship recipient for the MBA program and coached the Lloyd McDermott rugby team as well as the Guri Goannas. His aim is to continue to support growing the Indigenous business sector with the goals of reshaping non-Indigenous Australia's perceptions of Indigenous Australians' capabilities. I had to rehearse the title of this thesis a couple of times. Dr. Reid Jordan, Doctor of Philosophy with a thesis title, Mavericksm, Round Pegs in Square Holes, the who, what and why of mavericks in organisations. Ree is connected to the Burrungum Nation and was the recipient of the University of Queensland Research Scholarship from 2015 to 2018 and the University of Queensland Graduate School Candidate Development Award in 2018. She plans to continue her research and knowledge sharing to empower others in ways that make significant contributions to society. Miss Molly O'Connor, Bachelor of Arts Law with honours with a focus on arts majors in international relations and economics. Molly is connected to the Quandamooka people of Minjerribah, North Stradbroke. Throughout her studies, Molly was able to do a number of placements at community legal centres through the UQ Pro Bono Centre. She also had a short-term experience in China with the Confucius Institute. She went on exchange in France and did a summer semester subject in Borneo. Next year, Molly will be working as a Judge's Associate in the Federal Court and hopes to pursue a career in environmental or human rights law, particularly focusing on issues faced by Indigenous communities in Australia. Miss Tiana Stewart, Bachelor of Economics with a major in International Trade and Finance. Tiana is connected to the Inangai people and the Gubbi Gubbi people. Tiana was the recipient of the Indigenous Economics Scholarship in 2016 from the University of Queensland School of Economics. Tiani has accepted a graduate job with the Australian Bureau of Statistics graduate program with the Australian Government and will begin that role in Brisbane in January 2020. And now to present the 2019 graduands from the Faculty of Science. Miss Jade Ball, Bachelor of Science with a Biomedical Science major. Jade is connected to the Munundanyi people of southwest Queensland, and in 2020 she will commence the Doctor of Medicine program at the University of Queensland. And for anybody who's never been to a graduation ceremony, it never happens like this. In the mainstream, it's fabulous. Miss Jade Cook, Bachelor of Veterinary Science with honours. Jade was raised and is connected to the Cunnamulla community, and she would like to use the knowledge gained from her studies to assist in the preservation of Australia's unique wildlife. She's also passionate about using her skills to provide care to animals in Australia's Indigenous communities and developing countries overseas. Mr. Francis James McCullum, Bachelor of Biotechnology Honours, major in nanotechnology, with a focus on self-assembly of block copolymers for nanolithography. Francis is connected to the Gubbi Gubbi Nation, and he has joined the ARC Centre of Excellence in Convergent Bio-Nanoscience and Technology to promote polymer science at the Brisbane Science Festival. And he has applied for a PhD to continue the research from his honours project. He hopes to synthesise novel polymers that can self-assemble into futuristic materials for nanoelectronics and nanodiagnostics. I set myself a challenge. I'm going to try and weave those words into my next novel, which is set in 1852 in Gundagai, so it might not be possible. And now to introduce the 2019 graduates from the Faculty of Health and Behavioural Sciences. Miss Ashley De Jong, Bachelor of Nursing, Bachelor of Midwifery. Ashley is connected to the Mununjali Nation. She received the Indigenous Access Scholarship and the Eliza and Walter Trust Opportunity Scholarship. Ashley has been successful for 2 new graduate positions in Queensland's biggest tertiary hospitals and has been accepted into the Mater Mothers Hospital Brisbane as a registered nurse and midwife starting in February 2020. Miss Amanda Gulges, Bachelor of Nursing. Amanda is connected to the Bundjalung Nation and has been successful in obtaining a postgraduate nursing position on the surgical ward at Ipswich Hospital. And after completing her postgraduate year, she plans on pursuing further study in peri-operative care with the goal of working towards becoming a clinical nurse. Ms Tennille Hutchin, Bachelor of Pharmaceutics and Therapeutic Sciences. Tennille is connected to the Wiradjuri Nation and after graduating from her undergraduate degree, hopes to succeed in her postgraduate studies in the Doctor of Medicine program. Mr Kirtley Brian Nelson, Bachelor of Physiotherapy with honours. Brian is connected to the Dunghutti people and has obtained a number of Dean's commendations for academic excellence across his physiotherapy degree from 2017 to 2019. Brian's goal is to never stop learning and say yes to every opportunity. Although he has aspirations to be a great clinical physiotherapist, his primary goal is to positively influence Indigenous healthcare and the way services are delivered to close the gap. Mr Adam Price, Bachelor of Psychological Science with honours. Adam is connected to the Wiradjuri Nation and is completing an internship with the Lowitja Institute in 2020. He's interested in Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander health and how the research process can better incorporate Indigenous perspectives. Mr George Saunders, Bachelor of Occupational Therapy with honours. George is connected to the Gunditjmara country in southwestern Victoria. George received the Puggy Hunter Memorial Scholarship from 2015 to 2019 and has spent the last 2.5 years working for the Institute for Urban Indigenous Health as an occupational therapy cadet under the Indigenous Cadetship Support Program. He has accepted a 2020 occupational therapy graduate position at the Princess Alexandra Hospital, which I believe is very top shelf. Miss Lisa Wild, Bachelor of Psychological Science with First Class Honours. Lisa's thesis investigated how discourse affects the compassionate responding of 4-year-old children. Lisa is connected to the Kalkadoon Nation. She was the founding member of Australian Indigenous Psychology at UQ, the first Indigenous Psych student-led group and student leadership team of Gori Barimpa. Lisa is currently working full-time at Kumara, producing research and building on her PhD on the aspects which contribute to well-functioning Aboriginal families in Brisbane. And now to announce the 2019 graduates from the Faculty of Medicine. Dr. Charisse Ansell, Doctor of Medicine. Charisse is connected to the Aranda and Amitjar nations. She was previously an Aboriginal health practitioner and received the Rotary Indigenous Health Scholarship. She helped organise and deliver the initial PNG health project during her second year of medicine. She is currently on the Rural Generalist Training Program, hoping to pursue a career in women's and children's health, particularly with a focus on Indigenous health and ways of healing. Dr. Kimberly De Jong, Doctor of Medicine. Kimberly is connected to the Mununjali people of Bow Desert. She was the Australian Indigenous Doctors Association University of Queensland representative for 2017, 2018 and 2018 to 2019. She's the Australian Rotary Health Indigenous Bursary recipient from 2017 to 2019 and the Dr. Alan Van Tran and Min Ha Van Tran Indigenous Scholarship recipient all 4 years and the 2016 Siggins Miller Scholarship recipient. She was appointed a Women in Medicine Leadership Mentor with the Australian Medical Students Association from 2017 to 2019, and among other plans, Kimberly has accepted a medical intern position at Princess Alexandria Hospital for 2020. We now have Dr. Auntie Laureen Hayes, Doctor of Philosophy. Auntie Laureen's thesis title is An Aboriginal Woman's Historical and Philosophical Inquiry to Identify the Outcomes of Prenatal Alcohol Exposure and Early Life Trauma in Indigenous Children who live in Aboriginal communities in Queensland. Auntie Laureen is connected to the Inangai and Bidjara peoples. She was the 4th researcher in the world and the first Australian to receive the International Starfish Award. She's also the founder of the National Indigenous Australian Fetal Alcohol Education Network. She plans to continue her fetal alcohol spectrum disorder research through a postdoctoral position, hopefully at UQ. And if that isn't enough inspiration for you, I'm told that Dr. Auntie was, in a former professional life, an apprentice mechanic. I don't know about anybody else, but I've actually got goosebumps. Miss Natasha Lee, Master of Public Health. Natasha is connected to the Mulgull Torres Strait Islands, Yindinji, Kulili and Dungari peoples. She has completed a Poach Centre winter research project titled Racism in Health Justice System with Associate Professor Chelsea Bond. Natasha has secured a research assistant position in the Menzies School of Health Research, working on Indigenous health projects in cardiac care, cervical cancer, screening and oncology. Dr. Mitchell Lewis, Doctor of Medicine. Mitchell is connected to the Bundjalung Nation. He has visited schools, mentored high school students about tertiary education, spent 2 months in Fiji working in a hospital and visiting villages to provide healthcare. He was the recipient of the Arrow Energy Tertiary Scholarship and the Puggy Hunter Memorial Scholarship. Mitchell's career goal is to pursue renal medicine and work across rural and remote areas in Queensland. During his intern year, he will be placed with the Royal Flying Doctor Service. Dr. Hannah Tilling, Doctor of Medicine. Hannah is connected to the Mununjali peoples. She participated in the Inspire You program that encourages Indigenous high school students to enter university. She was the recipient of the Puggy Hunter Memorial Scholarship and Australian Rotary Scholarship. She is currently undertaking a Masters in Public Health and participating in a dermatology research project at Princess Alexandria Hospital. Thank you, Professor Fredericks and Professor Byrne. It's an extraordinary moment in time for me as a professor at UQ, and I started this year, and I think I will see my future days out there, to be part of this Sashing ceremony, because I graduated with my PhD back in 2001. Were you alive? Some of you people weren't even alive. From the University of Western Sydney. I was the first Koori to graduate with a PhD from the University of Western Sydney, which was shameful at the time because Greater Western Sydney has the highest population of Indigenous people in the country, so they should be flooded with blackfellas going through there. At the time, I think I was the 14th in Australia to get a PhD, and tonight we have 6 postdocs just in this room from one university, so I think that's extraordinary. Docs, I should say, the postgrads. So I didn't even have a cohort. I mean, you've got a whole cohort of people. So it's an amazing group of undergrads, many of whom I know because I read everybody's bios. Many of you are the first in your family to go to university, and you probably don't even know the extreme pride that is running through your family tonight and into the future. For me, you all give us hope for the future, for Indigenous Australia, First Nations Australians, and an empowered future for all of us. So can we have one more round of applause, please, for our 2019 University of Queensland. I'm not a parent. I can't even imagine what it must be like because I want to cry. It's now my great pleasure to invite Professor Tracy Bunda, Director of the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Studies Unit at UQ, to present 3 Academic Excellence Awards for undergraduate program, postgraduate coursework and research higher degree. And I'm also inviting, change to the script, Professor Fredericks and Professor Byrne back to the stage. Bronwyn's going, can you take my photo while I'm up there, please? No, someone else will have to do it. What am I doing? Am I sitting down there?
Oh, okay. Good evening, everybody. Okay. I too acknowledge the traditional owners and their custodianship of the lands on which we meet today and pay my respect to their ancestors and their descendants. I'd also like to acknowledge the dignitaries within the room, members of University Senate and the University Senior Management Group, Professor Aidan Byrne, UQ Provost, Sister Professor Bronwyn Fredericks, Pro-Vice-Chancellor Indigenous Engagement, representatives from government and industry, elders, community members, friends and donors, graduates and their guests, UQ colleagues and distinguished guests. The Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Studies Unit Academic Excellence Award recognises the University of Queensland cohort of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students graduating from either first or second semester 2019 from an undergraduate degree program including honours, a postgraduate program by coursework and higher degree research program including Masters of Philosophy and PhD. The criteria to determine the outcome for the undergraduate and postgraduate coursework Academic Excellence Award include students demonstrating academic achievement by maintaining a high GPA across the entirety of the program. In addition, academic awards provided by the faculty in which the program occurs or any awards by the University of Queensland is taken into consideration to support the assessment process. For awarding the Research High Degree Awards, our higher degree research candidates demonstrating leadership of a coherent and independent research program and the contribution and possible impact for new knowledge to their field of study provides the criteria for assessing each candidate. The first Academic Excellence Award is the 2019 Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Studies Unit Undergraduate Academic Excellence Award winner is Mr. Connor Haddad. Now, Connor was awarded the Bachelor of Communication Honours, Major Class Communication and Minor Advertising. He received First Class Honours. Unfortunately, Connor is not able to attend tonight's ceremony to receive the award. Connor enrolled into the Bachelor program in Semester 1, 2015, in a program providing strong foundations in professional skills such as writing, critical thinking, industry engagement, practice and production. Connor received the Dean's recommendation for academic excellence 5 times throughout a 4-year program. It should be noted that Connor achieved a GPA of 7 sort of feel a little bit ordinary. So Connor received a GPA of 7 and graduated in Semester 1, 2019. Yeah, let's... So this time the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Studies Unit Postgraduate Coursework Academic Excellence Award winner is Mr. James Blackwell. James completed his undergraduate degree and was awarded a Bachelor of Political, Economic and Social Science from the University of Sydney in 2018. James enrolled into the Master's program in Semester 2, 2018. The Master's program aims at developing conceptual, empirical understanding and skill sets in research and knowledge within the international relations field for graduates. James travels to the United States of America to undertake field work, conduct archival research for his master's thesis, focused on USA and post-Vietnam policy, development on civil-military relations. James graduates in December 2019. James was successful in securing a position aligned to the UQ's Vice-Chancellor Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander graduate program, and James' position is located within the School of Political Science and International Studies. Okay, and our last award for the evening. The Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Studies Unit, we are actually going to find a name that's a bit shorter than that. All right, it's going to be really deadly. Just hang in there. All right, the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Studies Unit Research Higher Degree Academic Excellence Award winner is Dr. Lorianne Hayes. Too deadly, my sister. Dr. Auntie Hayes holds a Bachelor of Applied Sciences Honours, specialising in Indigenous primary health care, awarded by the University of Queensland. Dr. Hayes holds postgraduate qualifications with Master in Applied Epidemiology, awarded by the Australian National University. Dr. Hayes' thesis, titled An Aboriginal Woman's Historical and Philosophical Inquiry to Identify the Outcomes of Prenatal Alcohol Exposure and Early Life Trauma in Indigenous Children who live in Aboriginal communities in Queensland. Could I ask you to join with me again and congratulate our award recipients? All right. I'm now going to ask Cherise Ansell to come and undertake the student address for the evening. Thank you. Thanks, Cherise.
It's so bright up here. My little niece is waving at me from the back. All right. So before I start, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners and their custodianships of the lands in which we meet today and pay our respects to their ancestors and their descendants. I'd also like to acknowledge members of the University Senate, University Senior Management Group, Professor Aidan Byrne, Provost, Professor Bronwyn Fredericks, Pro-Vice-Chancellor of Indigenous Engagement, Professor Tracy Bunda, Director of the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Studies Unit, representatives from the government and industry, elders and community members, friends and donors, graduands and their guests, UQ staff and distinguished guests. Sorry, my mouth is really dry. All right. Ora means hello. Aritna Achina, Cherise Kamara Ansell, Aranda Amajira Arula Ayanga, Abmara Manandulya Mbandarinya. My name is Cherise Ansell. I'm an Aranda and Amajira woman. My home is Manandulya in Alice Springs. I am not the first Aranda doctor in my family. Our Nungaras, traditional healers, my dad, my old people and ancestors have been our doctors for hundreds of thousands of years. This is where I gain and continue to draw my strength and wisdom from. Like many of us in this room, I didn't always know what I wanted to do, or even that I could be a doctor. It was the ongoing support and belief from my family and friends, the ongoing self-healing and self-discovery that got me through. My dad is a Nungra, a traditional healer. He deals with the mental and physical manifestations of the spirit. When your spirit has trauma, when country has trauma, we have trauma. All has an impact if we don't take the time for regular self-healing and healing of the spirit first. For me, this is in the form of positive self-talk, meditation and returning to country, eating nutritious foods, moving the body and caring for others. Now, as I said before, I didn't always know I was going to be a doctor. I went to a public high school in Alice Springs. I didn't like school at all. So in Year 12, I decided to drop a subject and do a traineeship 1 day a week at the bank. I remember my careers advisor warning me against this, as I would not receive a TERS score, which would provide entry into university. At the time, this didn't mean much to me, as I didn't really know what uni was, and if it was anything like school, I didn't want a part of it. I wasn't the best student at school and would wag most of my classes and do my schoolwork after school at the Girls' Academy. This program was similar to Clontarf football program for girls. My auntie ran the program, and it was a place to go where we eat 2-minute noodles and finish all of our assignments. With these supports in place, I continued school and graduated in 2010. After school, I went on to complete my Aboriginal health practitioner training at the local Aboriginal medical service in Alice Springs. I loved aspects of my training, like yarning to patients and learning new skills, but found that I was only being taught up until a certain point. If I would ask anyone for any more teaching, it would be like, oh no, you don't need to know that, you're just a health worker. I was hungry for more knowledge and understanding around the ins and outs of why we do what we do, how medications affect patients, and is what we're doing the most effective way to do things? I also found that I was placed with new doctors and nurses who would only stay for a couple of months at a time, often with little cultural understanding of Aboriginal people. It was frustrating for not only the patients, but the Aboriginal health practitioners that were picking up the slack in these circumstances. At this time, I was quite happy to stay in Alice Springs, have a career as an Aboriginal health practitioner, and work for my mob. Although my dad had other plans for me, he said, why don't you be a doctor? Aboriginal health practitioners do majority of the work on the ground and have very little power to make changes. It comes from doctors. Who would have known that this little talk 9 years ago would have pushed me to where I am today, about to graduate as a doctor? Moving forward and reflecting on my life, growing up in the desert and around my culture and people, I hope to bring my unique set of values and views that complement my training within the Western medical system. I know as Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, we all have to navigate two worlds. Self-healing and the healing of your spirit is paramount to this. I just wanted to remind you, Mob. Thank you.
Oh, and there's a glass of water from the niece. Thank you, Cherise, for your words of wisdom from someone so young compared to so many of us in the room, and the importance of self-talk, self-positive talk. And she doesn't mean big noting yourselves, students. She means self-talk. And so I wanted to thank you for that. And I was wondering if you found when you came to university that 2-minute noodles is a staple for students. Yes. Well, we've come to that time of the evening when the official proceedings end, but we would love for you all to stay, enjoy the food and beverage service and entertainment by Tyrone Drum, who's fabulous over there. I want to ask, when your guests go to have a bevy and something to eat, for the graduates to come back on stage for a photo with Professor Fredericks and Professor burn. But before that happens, I'd really like the students to offer a round of applause for all of the Indigenous and non-Indigenous staff who've been part of your journey at the University of Queensland, many of whom are with you this evening to celebrate. So if we could do that, that would be wonderful. And I'm glad there's some doctors in the house because all these hearts just exploded in the front row here. So thank you, everybody. Please do stay and enjoy the hospitality at Customs House this evening while we get some photos with the graduates. Thank you.